I'm going to rapid fire 10 rules for content creation on social media. If I had to come up with a quick 10, these are going to be the quick 10. And I honestly feel like I could come up with so many. When I use the word rules, I was thinking to myself, what could I substitute in for the word rule? Because I hate feeling like there's guardrails or like I have to follow a certain path. That's not, just know that that's not the word that I'm trying to use, but it doesn't make sense with any other word. So 10 rules, which are more like theories, as actually a really good one to go by, like 10 theories for content creation in social media. So this is what I would tell you if you were like, hey, I've never met you before. What do you think are some of the really important things to keep in mind when creating social media content creation for a thought leader or a mentor or a business owner or a founder in the online business space? Okay, so let's go through this rapid fire. Rule or theory number one: your content, the things that you post to your feed, must align with your client's journey, not just what you feel like you want to post for that day. So, when it comes to your client's journey, they're at multiple different phases of awareness, and they're also at multiple different phases of the path. Not every single client is going to come in at the same chapter of the journey. Some people are on chapter 1, some people are at chapter 25. But at the end of the day, you're always creating content for who they're becoming, not just like what you're selling, not just what you feel like is a cute trend that you want to follow. You are aligning with the client's journey. So, in order to do that, you have to understand where are people coming in and then create. This is going to actually filter into beyond just content creation. This is going to help you with frameworks and course creation and program development. But what are the phases as to who she becomes at certain milestones? So, for example, in my world, I work with brands and businesses, and at a certain point, they're making $0 per month. That's phase one. And if I were to, I don't coach a lot of those people anymore, but if I were, I would have to talk about who you have to become during phase one. Phase two would be okay, you're making some money from your social media. You're building a brand. You have some clients, and you're probably making anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 inconsistently per month. Okay. Now, who do you have to become in those months? And then I can go to $10,000 a month, $20,000, $50,000, etc. And then it's yes, I do talk about money milestones. You might not have a business where you teach people to make money, but there are certain milestones. And this is one of the hardest things that I've found in my clients. They struggle with okay, what are the results? What are the milestones? And sometimes you have to sit down and really contemplate what those look like. But a lot of the times you have to pay attention to your clients. What are those milestones? What do they really want? What are some things that people have achieved in your world? What have you achieved in your journey? And then list those things out and then turn them into milestones. And then all of your content aligns with those phases. So, okay, I want to sit down and in my content strategy today, I want to talk about, the mindset of the woman who is she's making $7,000 months. She's kind of inconsistent. It's not guaranteed. She really wants 10K months on the books for the next 6 months. Who does she have to become? And I might not even talk about money in that post. That's the thing, is I might just talk about the becoming or the embodiment of the ideal client to be a quote unquote, a 6-figure earner or a successful brand owner, whatever that looks like. Okay. So rule or theory number one is client journey, understand client journey and then create content around that. Rule number two: authenticity comes from embodiment, not just something that you turn on. So when it comes to being authentic, there's a couple of different things to keep in mind. First and foremost, with quote unquote messaging, if you're creating a carousel and it has text on each slide, or if you're writing even a caption, for example, or maybe you're creating a hook over top of a reel, the authenticity of that copy, of that messaging, is going to come from, is that something that you would say out loud to your best friend? Truly, can you read it out loud and does it sound like your lingo? I'm not even kidding, the amount of times that I work with clients and they send something in for a content audit and I'm like, dude, this doesn't even sound like you. You clearly used ChatGPT, but also you're writing in a way that is are you in the corporate world? I don't understand. It's be as authentically you as possible. Maybe you curse, maybe you don't curse, maybe you say girlfriend or girl or girly pop. Again, just be you and read it out loud before you post it. And then to add to that, that's just authenticity in the messaging portion. Authenticity in the subject or the topic of the post, it should reflect lived experience. Like if you really want to create an authentic, truthful, honest brand, you're always creating content around lived experience. So for example, I am doing 25 push-ups a day in January. That's my goal. Every single day, 25 push-ups. I recently put a post up on my feed talking about my experience of doing 25 push-ups a day and how I'm putting that into my content. Because here's the thing, 25 push-ups and fitness really has nothing to do with what I sell. But the fact that I'm doing those things has everything to do with my mindset and the mindset of the ideal client that I want to work with. It also has everything to do with the fact that my goal is also to post myself, to hold myself accountable in my stories of doing these push-ups. And I've had an entire experience of that. So if I'm a content coach teaching people content, I'm going to talk about my lived experience of posting my 25 push-ups a day to my stories. Okay. So see how that is an authentic post. No one else can create that post. They could in their own way, but that's my post. That's authenticity at its finest. So what are you doing in your day-to-day, or like what just happened to you? Or again, what can you reflect on? What introspection can you provide on a very specific thing that is authentically you? All right, theory number 3. Every single post should either teach, connect, or inspire action. So every single piece of content needs to have a purpose that moves your audience forward. If you're just posting to post, and again, there's room for creating a post that's like what I recently have coined as the personality post, where your goal with the personality post is simply visibility. However, even if I'm getting visibility and I'm bringing people in because it gets a lot of views or it gets a lot of traction, that's inspiring action. I'm getting them in to binge the rest of my content, where the rest of my content is going to nurture them. It's going to wake them up with my problem awareness, solution awareness, like desire and afterlife, like all of those things. However, I might create a piece of content that's teaching something or educating something, connecting with someone if I tell a personal story, or again, inspiring action into getting a quick win from whatever it is that I'm talking about. Every single piece of content moves my audience forward. So a way to gauge this in your own content is like, look at something you recently posted and ask yourself, just allow yourself to be like, okay, what am I trying to convince them of? And it should be clear as day. Like, what am I trying to convince the audience of? What do I want to convince them to do, or to think, or to feel, or to believe? And ask yourself that. And if it's clear, then you did a great job. But if you're like, I have no clue, then that's when you need to refine what it is that you're posting and the intention behind it. Okay, rule number 4. We've all been taught to provide value and to teach and to educate in our content. We've also been told by some gurus that it's important that we have opinions, that we hold a stance, that we become an authority, that we, whatever it is, like you are, placing yourself as an expert when you have both opinion and strategy. However, here's where I teach this, or I believe a little bit differently around this rule is I think it is very important to have opinions. I think it's very important to have stances. I think it's very important to stand against something and stand for something. I think the combination of that with teaching is what is missing sometimes from people's content. So it's like, okay, you have the opinion. Maybe it causes pain. Maybe it's pain point marketing. Maybe it's desire-led marketing. It doesn't matter, but you're not leaving them in just the opinion. You're taking the opinion and you're saying, here's my opinion. Now let me teach you something about that opinion. Let me teach you a different way, or let me teach you my way. And to add to that, you're breaking down frameworks, models, systems, things that could be replicated, and they're coming from a high level because, again, you can't teach an entire masterclass in one carousel or one post. So if you have frameworks, which is something that I've mastered over the last 12 months, is creating frameworks, and it has truly, it's definitely allowed my business to succeed, but it's helped my clients. And that's why I'm doing this, is I want to help people. So when you're able to organize your craft or your work into frameworks and models and systems that can be easily taught, yet also easily consumed, that's going to make your life so much easier, but then you can use it in your content. So for example, it's like, the 6 languages of content, for example, I speak to that all the freaking time, all the time. And sometimes I call them the 6 languages of content. Sometimes I call it scroller psychology. Sometimes I will list out what the 6 languages are, but it has made my content so much easier to create, especially when I come from an opinion, like, okay, I have this opinion on this, this, and this, and then I'm able to pull from that framework. So to teach something, that's what I meant to say. So it's like opinion plus teaching strategy. That's rule number 4. All right, rule number 5 is like, goodness gracious, problem awareness content, which I feel like is getting out of hand these days. Like, I have so much to say on this. I think problem awareness content is very important. Don't get me wrong. I think it's very, very important to create awareness around what people's problems and struggles and challenges are. If you're always coming from a place of calling people out on their problems and struggles, you're going to sabotage your brand. Like, truly. Like, your ideal client doesn't want to be told she's wrong and making mistakes left and right. Like, she just doesn't. That's just not it. So there's a nuance to this. And the nuance is like, yes, create problem awareness from both first person, like first person would be like your own story. Like, here's where I went wrong. Here's where I made a mistake. But you can also do this directive, like, here's where you're making a mistake. Here's where you're going wrong. But then again, you don't leave them in the problem, but you're not teaching in this scenario. You're going to add awareness to the solution. Okay. So it's problem awareness and solution awareness as a combination. And this is basically where you're like, okay, let me do a weight loss example. So your problem is that you are not eating enough protein. Okay. That's your problem. You don't eat enough protein. You probably don't eat enough in general. And then the solution, actually, let's say the problem is you don't eat enough. So you're busy, you're a career woman, you're very successful, and you just don't take the time to eat enough food. And the solution is you don't need to put more on your plate. You actually just need to eat more protein. So again, we're talking about the problem being she doesn't eat enough and the solution being she needs more protein. The how or the implementation of that is when she hires you. So she could try to go figure that out herself for sure. Like, how do I get more protein? I'm going to start studying this. Or you could then mention, this is exactly where my protein power method, my protein power framework comes into play and makes your life so much easier. And lucky for you, I'm doing a whole masterclass on this, or like whatever you want to say. But again, you're like offering the actionable step to overcome the problem. And that is problem awareness and solution awareness in rule number 5. Rule number 6, storytelling is your superpower. I will say this and I will die on this hill. I will say this to the day I die. Being a good storyteller is like a muscle that needs to be developed. So you need to get your reps in. You need to get practice in every single day. And eventually that muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And you get to flex that muscle whenever you want. But storytelling is like, you have to develop storytelling, especially now with things feeling very AI. Like, you don't even know, but also people are getting bored of content if it's not telling a story. So when it comes to storytelling, some of the easiest places to start is like, basically the easiest place. And I don't love saying it like this, but it's like, what did you struggle with and what did you overcome? And what was the triumph? Like, what was the victory? Because people are going to connect with the real life scenario versus like, generic tips, for example, or like trying to prove that you had a transformation. Instead, show them. And this is done really nicely in like a reel where you can say, this is like the how it started versus how it's going type reel, which I call the Shiro reel. It's something that I teach in one of my signature programs, Made You Look. And this is where storytelling is really going to be pedestaled. It's gonna like take off. It's going to showcase your transformation, and you're coming from this place of embodiment. So now you are very qualified to lead this transformation in other people. Like, they're going to see that and they're going to be like, I want that for myself. Like, I'm in your before state and I want your after state. So that's just one quick way to develop storytelling, but storytelling should be the core of every single post. Like, I truly believe that. So when we talk about storytelling, how do you simply define storytelling? It's like there's a beginning, middle, and end, and it's interesting. So again, storytelling is very simple. It should be applied to every single post, and that is your superpower. Okay, rule number 7. The last episode, I mentioned the 3 core pillars of your content. I believe that this is a theory, a rule in your content is to rotate across the 3 pillars. So the embodiment or the mindset is pillar number 1, the strategy is pillar number 2, and then the outcome, the circumstance that they desire and how to hold that, how to sustain that is pillar number 3. And so go back and listen to that last episode if you want to learn more about that. But the reason that this is a rule is so that your audience can see themselves inside of each phase, inside of each pillar, because there's going to be days where people are very attracted to like the pure strategy, like just tell me what to do and I'll go do it. And then there's going to be days where people are like, oh, I'm sick of like the to-dos. I'm sick of like the pure like tips and tricks. Like I want to know the depth. And so they're going to be really attracted to the embodiment, the mindset teachings. And then there's going to be days where they're sick of both of those and they're like, I just feel like I want to have the result. And then you're going to be talking about the outcomes, the sustainability of that lifestyle or whatever it is that you lead. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I need that. She knows how to teach that. I want that. Okay. That's number 7. Number 8 is your content should build authority. Yes, there's like this whole, in my world, at least in the social media guru space, it's like everyone's talking about be the authority, like create authority content. And it makes me want to puke because I don't feel like anyone is teaching this the right way. So now we have like all these people who are coming across very arrogant. And I know that that's not who they actually are. So building authority without ego is rule number 8. And the way that you do this is you don't have to like prove through your words that you're good at what you do. Like it's not saying like, oh, I make X amount of money or, oh, I've led 100,000 people through this program. Like instead of doing that, it's like teach from the experience, lead by example, like show us like in the real life example of what your authority is in. Why are you an expert in what you do? Like demonstrate that for us. And it won't come across arrogant. It'll come across as like, leaders follow the leader. Like leaders follow leaders. Leaders don't follow someone who's trying to be the boss or trying to be the best and tell you what to do and be a superior. Like again, lead by example. Let us in a little bit and show us how good it can get. And again, it'll be the easiest thing for you to sell. So that is authority in my opinion. And I think people are just getting a little sick of like, oh, here's my snapshot of how much money I make. And then it's like, yeah, that works for someone who's a beginner. Like truly it does. Like you're going to sell someone who's a beginner and wants money overnight. That's if you're teaching people how to build money, of course. But it's like, and nowadays I feel like everyone's posting that. So people are getting sick of it. And so instead it's like, tell me about how money in your business was not linear. It's like not a linear growth. Like what did that feel like? Like, how are you going to be able to lead me through that? It's like the depth to it and the lived experience versus like, here's what I have. You know what I mean? So, okay. Rule number 9. This, again, I keep trying to make these episodes quick and I love to talk about this stuff. So they're never quick, but hopefully this is helpful. And I feel like I have like 10,000 more rules and theories. So we're just getting warmed up here. But rule number 9 is, discernment over replication. And I could do an entire episode on this, but I will honestly just confess that I used to be in this like really bad habit of looking at women who were in my line of work and trying to replicate exactly what they were posting, thinking, well, it worked for them, it should work for me. And yes, I would put it into my own words and I would try to make it my own thing, but I was like in denial over this, I think, where I would get inspiration from them and I'd be like, I have to do it their way. And it just never worked. So now I'm like very tunnel vision and I'm doing it my way and it's working better than ever. So I think I had to go through that phase of like trying to mimic what I thought success was for someone else and trying to make it my own. And it just never works that way. So it's like, instead of looking for inspiration from other people or, oh, she's doing it that way, so I want to try doing it that way. It's like, yeah, that's totally fine. Use inspiration. But I'm going to tell you right now, your audience is going to respond to your voice. So if you're trying to put things in your own words based off of exactly what someone else posted, you're going to have to change it. It's going to have to be shifted into your own style, your own rhythm, like your own swag. And honestly, like it would eventually, hopefully you get to this point. This is my goal for every single client of mine, is like, you don't look at anybody else's content. You just create your own, like, and you don't need inspiration. You just kind of, you know exactly what you want to say. You know exactly what you want to share. And it comes from authenticity, but it's inspiring because you are inspiring. Like, there's no gap in between who you are and what you put in your content. And so that's where the discernment comes in, is like, there's way too much goodness to you. There's way too much magic in you to be looking at someone else and trying to emulate what they're like, when you could just be yourself. So that's number 9. All right. Number 10, at the end of the day, I would definitely say, like, if you are not in the habit of posting consistently, consistency is going to beat trying to be perfect every single day. So showing up and like having a consistency strategy. Now, I'm the type of person, I don't believe that you have to post every single day. Like, I really don't. I actually think sometimes, like, think about your ideal client, and it's all of our ideal client at this point. She's not looking at what you're posting every single day and like really paying attention every single day. So if that's the case, and you maybe made a goal of, I would say, 5 days a week, creating something very potent that lives on your feed. Now, again, I show up in my Instagram stories every single day. That's like a given, but I'm talking about feed posts. 5 days a week is an amazing goal, and it's going to allow you to give more energy, more focus to more intention to what you're posting, versus just trying to get something up just for the sake of posting. So that's what I would definitely suggest, is like, have intentionality. Maybe you have some themes. For me, currently, and again, this changes over time, but currently I have a content strategy where the topics aren't planned, but the modality is planned. And what I mean by that is, I have a list of, okay, every single week I want to post a chit chat reel. Every single week I want to post a personality post. Every single week I want to post a proof of concept post where I'm talking about a client win or a client success story, case study, whatever. Every single week I post an evolution post, which comes from the 6 languages of content. That's all in my membership. So it's like that right there. And I don't even know if I listed all 5, but that's just some of the modalities that I stick to. And when I say modalities, I'm talking about reel versus carousel, what type of reel, what type of carousel. That's the modality. When it comes to the language or the messaging, the intention, that I kind of give myself leeway with that. So for the carousel that is proof of concept, now that's fully baked. Like, I know exactly what that is. That's the modality is the carousel. The language is proof of concept. For the chit chat reel, though, it's like the chit chat reel is a modality, but I don't know if I'm going to do gap and remedy. Again, I'm speaking content languages from my content membership. So if you want to learn more about this, that's definitely the place to be. But I don't know if for the chit chat reel, I'm going to do gap and remedy. I don't know if I'm going to do origin. I don't know if I'm going to do desire and afterlife, or like eras content, whatever that looks like. It doesn't matter. I just know I want to put my face in front of the camera and do a chit chat reel. So again, consistency beats perfection. Have somewhat of a strategy, but at the end of the day, have a goal to make very potent content, very intentional and transformational content versus quantity. Okay. Whew, those are the 10 rules for today. Again, I'm not going to like limit myself to just 10. I'm going to have so many ideas. Like, after this, I'm going to start thinking of more and more things that I want to talk about. But those are the 10 theories, the 10 rules for today. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you enjoyed this, it would mean the world to me if you would give a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're on Apple Podcasts and you want to leave a written review, I would love that so much. I'm going to give shout outs to anyone that gives a written review. I'm going to read those on the episodes. So if you would do that, I would love to shout you out. And again, like, your love for this show, your ability to like leave a review or maybe even share this to your stories if you were called to do that. It just keeps me going. I do this for you guys. I have so much fun with these topics, and yeah. So thank you in advance, and thank you for listening. And I love you so much. I hope you have the best day ever, and I will see you soon.